Hello, welcome everybody. This is a spontaneous conversation between myself and a Twitter user, Mitch, who was gracious enough to come on and talk about this big question. Well, this question that seems to be pissing everyone off on Twitter that I asked. Well, a statement. So Mitch is very gracious to come on here. Like, we're going to be polite and respectful. If anyone does actually join us in the comments, say hello. But Mitch is a Christian. He used to be a Muslim. Is that right, Mitch?
Yep, that's right.
And I posted on Twitter. Maybe I can share my screen just so we can get some context of what we're talking about. Let me just find it. Sorry. So I said, let me share it. So I said, by the way, an all-powerful God shouldn't need to rest on the seventh day. What do you think about that, Mitch? Disagree?
Yeah, I disagree 100%.
Okay. How so?
Because he worked, he made it like that, like he made it so we can work 6 days and rest on the seventh, because when he was preaching, he rested on the seventh day as well, before he passed away. And
who, Jesus?
Yeah, Jesus. Yeah.
Okay. So even if we don't move into Christian theology just yet, even if we just talk about the statement, do you think it's possible for an all-powerful God to need to rest?
Yeah. To be honest, not really, but okay. Jesus is a son of God. So, yeah, I think so. For Jesus, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. So, okay. Well, you see, that's like our first. Well, that'll be our first disagreement, because I think we need to kind of define our terms, and I guess. So, wait. So, I got a bit distracted for a second. So, are you saying that an all-powerful God does need to rest, or doesn't need to rest?
No, he made it for us. Do you understand? He made this the seventh day for us to rest.
Oh, I know that. Yeah,
he made it for us.
So, yeah, that makes sense. I understand that part, but even if we go back before, we're not talking about Christian theology or Genesis just yet. Just the idea that we can even take God out of it. Does an all-powerful being need to rest?
See, that's a tricky question, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, because my thinking was essentially, if something is all-powerful, like any need to rest. Now, we can talk about if they decided to rest instead of needing to rest. We can talk about things like that. But an all-powerful deity needing to rest would give the impression that deity isn't all-powerful, because you could easily think of a deity that's more powerful, which is a deity that could rest, that didn't need to rest after 8 days or 9 days or 10 days or never needed to rest. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree on that, to be honest. Like,
okay.
Yeah. I'm not trying to, I'm not going to lie about anything either. So if I agree with something, I'm going to tell you the truth.
Yeah, well, that's great. So, yeah, so that was my initial statement. An all-powerful God shouldn't need to rest on the seventh day. Now, it seemed that everyone immediately assumed I was talking about Genesis, which I was. But it's funny that everyone thought that, you know what I mean? So we can, if we want, then we can explore the idea that God chose to rest as a way of teaching us. Is that what you're saying? That he chose to rest as a way of showing us that that's like what he wanted us to do. Is that what you're saying?
Yep.
Okay.
That's what he wanted us to do, yeah.
So, okay. So why didn't he just say it like he did with the other scriptures? Like, you shall not steal, you shall not murder.
That's a good question. Well, I can't answer that, bro, because That's another tricky question to answer. Like, why didn't he say it in the Bible? Yeah, that is a good
He
point.
probably did somewhere, but I just don't know why he demonstrated it as well. You know what I mean? Because he does say it in the Ten Commandments. He says on the Sabbath, keep it holy. Like, remember the Sabbath and keep it holy. And this is just a conversation. I'm not trying to like get slam dunks or debate you or anything. I'm open to have a conversation. So, I'm glad that you're being honest and stuff. But so, yeah, so it seems weird to me that that God would rest when, when he could just say to rest. Like that seems strange to me.
But God doesn't talk to you. Like, oh well, no, I shouldn't say that. Like, how can I say it? How can I explain this? Fuck. See, now I'm stumbling my words.
No,
Like,
no,
I'm back.
it's fine. Just so you know, there is no one watching us right now, or there might be one person watching us. So don't don't stress.
Okay.
But I know how I've been on live streams before where I get tongue tied and
This is
forget
the
what I'm
first
saying.
live stream I've ever done talking about God. I can do it in public, on the phone, through anything, but just being on live, it's just so overwhelming.
Yeah. Someone pesky said, this must be our one viewer. Lots of tricky questions with thousands of interpretations. Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess we're kind of in agreement, I guess, with the I don't think we disagree anywhere. So I guess we could talk a little bit about your journey. You said you moved from Islam over to Christianity. Can you tell us a little bit about what it was like for you growing up as a Muslim, or did you grow up as a Muslim?
No, I grew up as just a regular person, no church, nothing. And then when I was about 14, I had a Muslim friend, and I started going to the mosque with him. And I started to learn about it more, so I picked up a Quran and started reading it when I was about 15 years old. And
Okay.
yeah, and then I turned Muslim for 7 years. And then
Right.
I don't know what changed my mind, but I started to read the Old Testament of the Bible, the old one, and it just makes so much sense to me. Like, Muslims and Christians were so similar back in the days, and it just I think Christian is the right way, but we used to pray like Muslims. Do you know what I mean? Does that make?
Well, Christianity is an earlier religion than Islam. Islam was around 500 years later.
Yeah.
But something that's interesting is Muslims will say that the words of Allah cannot be corrupted, and they'll say that the Bible is the corrupted words of Allah, right? Which I'm like, well, how can they be corrupted then? If like that does make sense to me. But so okay, so so are you an apostate then? Like, technically?
Yeah, I am now. Yep.
So does that mean that you're like, can you go to certain countries without risking your life?
Can I go to countries without risking my life?
Yeah.
Well, depends. Whereabouts I'll be going into the country. Depends, like, what I'll be doing, all sorts of stuff. So what exactly are you trying to say? Like,
well, I'm just asking because I know that I have a friend, Nuria Khan. I interviewed her on Deep Drinks, and she's a Muslim apostate as well. And she mentioned that, well, her story is a little different in that she actually escaped. I think it was not Saudi Arabia. I think it was Dubai. She actually escaped Dubai when the police were after her under the guidance of the England embassy. And so, but if she returns to a country that has the death penalty for apostasy, unless she repents, she will be put to death in a lot of those countries. So I know Islam isn't like that. Well, I know that Islam isn't practiced like that in most places around the world. Most Muslims are 100%. The great people, calm, peaceful, want to just live their lives. But there are some countries where obviously that's, I mean, I'd probably be put to death as an atheist in some places in the world, right? Yeah, but I often wonder about myself, like, have I fucked up sorry for swearing, but have I messed up by interviewing, have I messed up by making this YouTube channel because, I'm saying that I don't believe there's a God, and like, am I gonna, like, pass through a country one day and be like, uh-oh, I'm in trouble because I like to travel around? I don't know, it's just something to think about.
Yeah, that is a good thought too. And yeah, that it depends what country, and like, yeah, I think it will happen. I'm not denying that.
Yeah,
Because
that it could
I
happen.
come from Allah, so
Right. Can you talk about, before we move into your journey into becoming a Christian, when you were a Muslim, like, what kind of would you pray, like, pray during the day, at the set times and things? Like, were you pretty devout?
yeah, I was like very committed. Like, I was following the 5 rules of Islam, and yeah.
Did you think that, would you say that you, like, I'm not sure if this is even makes sense, but in Christianity, when I was a Christian, we talked about having a personal relationship with Jesus. Did you feel like you had a personal relationship with Allah, or like, did you feel like you had a connection with the Quran?
What do you mean? Can you provide more context to that, please?
Yeah, so like, so you know how, like, people have, like, they have, like, the religion becomes incredibly personable to them, and they feel like they can feel the presence. Well, I won't even say let's say someone says they feel the presence of God. Did you ever feel the presence of Allah, or feel like he was guiding you, or he was answering your prayers, or anything like that?
To be honest, no. Like,
Okay.
sometimes, but when I was praying, like, no, not really.
Okay.
It's only when I turned to Christianity that's when I started to feel the power of God. That's why I said in that. That's why I'm commenting. I was like, no, you have to have faith in God, and you have to, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's part of the reason why I wanted to talk to you, because, hang on, let me read out your comment, because I think I disagreed with your approach in every which way possible. Not to say
Yes.
you're a bad
That
person,
was a
but
weird.
this is where good conversations are, man. And it's good. I can't actually find your comment. Let me just.
I felt hurt by that, by what you said, to be honest, because like, he is powerful.
Oh,
And
really? Like, what, my original tweet?
oh, no, I was replying to another comment you sent through your tweet.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I need to. Oh, Spewing, he didn't set a good example for slavery. Is that the one?
Nope. It was one where you said, why should God, powerful God, rest on the 7th day? That
Yeah,
tweet.
by the way, an all-powerful God shouldn't need to rest on the 7th day. Is that the comment that hurt you?
The one inside of it. I can't remember what you said, but
The symbolism is that God is not all-powerful.
yeah, that's it. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I can see how that would offend you. So you said, oh, it's sharing. How is God not all-powerful? That just baffles me. God's words are so powerful. The prayers are so powerful. You must have faith to feel him, brother. And I'm sorry you're lost. You're a lost human. I hope you can wake up soon, man. You can definitely tell that you're upset in that comment. So what about that comment, the symbolism that made you feel so uncomfortable?
Just like that you said that he's not powerful. Just hurt.
Yeah, so I was responding to Otami, who said, failing to realize its symbolism, and it's not literal. So this person's saying that Adam and Eve weren't literal, that it was symbolic. And then I'm saying, well, if it's symbolic, the symbol is that God is not all powerful. So I'm stating that if you're taking that approach, that you're saying that God's not all powerful.
No, I don't see what the other guy said. So yeah.
Oh, okay. So the other person said, yeah, failing to realize it's symbolism. Failing to realize it's a symbolism thing, not a literal, and not literal. And I said the symbolism is that God is not all powerful. So the idea is like, well, if you're going to take that approach, that it wasn't literal, that God literally didn't need to rest, that it was symbolism, the symbolism still says that God needed to rest, right? So that's all I was saying. But Twitter is like this, you know. So, but there's something that I really kind of disagree with you on in this section, and that is, you said you must have faith to feel him, brother. Can you explain what you mean by that?
You must believe in God to feel him. Like if you don't believe in him, you don't feel the connection. You know,
Okay.
like when I was Muslim, I started losing connection with him and started to get back on blah blah blah. Don't want to go into that life anyway, but yeah, you need to believe in God to feel
It's
him.
like so is it like you need to believe it? So I've heard Christians say, show me and I'll believe. And then someone said, and it's like a meme. It's like, show me and I'll believe. And then the meme is like, believe me and I'll show. It's like, you got to start with belief. Is that right?
Can I talk about something else for a second, bro? Is that all right?
Yeah. Let's go for it. Yeah, no worries.
So I got this book here. It's about, it says the last 2 million years of humankind.
Well, first of all, let me ask you this: are you a young Earth creationist, or do you believe?
What do you mean by that?
Do you believe the Earth is like 6,000 years old and we came from Adam and Eve, or do you believe that the Earth is millions of years old and we came from
millions?
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, my friend just said. Someone just commented. I thought he was about to pull his pecker out for a sec. That's pretty funny. So someone actually asked a question as you get that ready. If someone is wrong about Islam, how would they know that faith in Christianity is real? If it comes down to faith, hey?
Can you say that again, please?
If someone is wrong about Islam, how would they know about faith, that faith in Christianity is real? If it comes down to faith and feelings, is that a good measure of truthfulness?
Yes.
And then they followed up with, which I think is a more succinct version of the same question, is belief something we should use to believe something? Well, by the way, pesky Tux, I haven't seen you guys. Look at the trees. I haven't seen you guys in ages because I haven't been on this channel for ages. I miss you guys. Come over to Deep Drinks and party.
Just hold on, bro. I'm just trying to go to the...
No worries.
There's a lot of pages in this book. Sorry, what were we talking about again? I forgot.
You asked to tell me something about, and then you pulled out the book and said this is the last 2 million years of human history.
Yeah, what were you saying before I said that?
I said I was asking you about faith, and do you need to have faith to believe? And I said you start with belief and then you get faith. And I was asking you about that.
Oh, let me take that back. Actually, you start with no. That's not real. Where is it in here? Here we go. Just need to find it. I hate it when you're looking for something.
Yeah, I do that all the time.
It takes so much friggin' time. Here we go. Just give me a moment.
No problem.
Oh my gosh. Where is it? Oh, here we go.
Yep.
The birth of religion. The period of man provides the first clear evidence of the growth of ritual practices, which suggests that he may have had some religious ideas of the higher apes when I don't know how to say that word, so I'm just going to skip it.
Mm-hmm.
What is quite clearly profound grief, but only man tries to come to terms with his suffering by the positive actions involving seminal barriers, one burial site in South. So it's basically seen in here, bro, with the apes, like they had some sort of religious belief before we were turned into humans, like.
Yeah, so like early hominids. Is that what you're saying? Early hominids had religious practice,
Yep.
ritual.
Yep. Yep. And it says somewhere in here that it's implying it pretty much, saying that it's real, you don't have to have faith in it because it's real. And they have photos in this book of skulls and or bones of people doing rituals and stuff, like. And yeah, so I take that back, actually. You don't need faith to believe in God. God is real. He's 100% real. 100%. And let me tell you why.
Yeah, okay.
Because when I was on crack 6 years ago, yeah, I was on crack for a while and I wanted to stop. So I called out to Jesus. Like I felt something inside my body, like coming down from my head to my toes. My hair's up. I'm feeling weird. I'm crying. And I said, I prayed to God and I just wanted to stop. I just wanted to stop crack. And a day later, I went cold turkey. I didn't think about it. 6 years later, bro, I'm 6 years clean now, Like, you just...
So have you
I don't
been
know.
did you so when you say crack, do you mind if is that like methamphetamines?
Yeah.
Okay. And you've been clean and sober since, is that right?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, congratulations, first of all. 6 years, that's
Thank you.
a tremendous thing to go through. How long were you addicted to meth for? Or crack?
It was within a year, so a year pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And is when you called out to God that time, is that the start of when you became a Christian, or were you building up to that reading the Bible, or?
Nah, I was still a Muslim actually, but I believe Jesus' word is more powerful than anything, bro. Because when you say Jesus, like you can just feel something in your body, like like his name is so powerful. And I believe Muslims and Christians were similar than any other religion ever. Like, so
did you call out to Jesus, like the Christian God, or to the Muslim?
I called out to Jesus, yeah. And then
as
he
a
answered,
Muslim.
yes, as a Muslim. I was going through a lot, like my head was
No, I
messed
mean,
up.
yeah, man, yeah, you're on crack. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. Yeah, okay.
And then guess what? 2 years later, I started to look into Christianity, bro. But I didn't convert to Christianity until when? This year.
Right, okay.
I looked into it last year, 2022.
What stopped you from deciding to follow Jesus after you felt what you thought was the presence of Jesus?
Well, because still to this day, I don't believe he's God. You know what I mean? Like he's the son of God, if that makes sense. Like there's so many, like people have like written the book so many times and just manipulation and all this stuff and all that. You know what I mean?
No, I do know what you mean. I definitely do know what you mean. There are people online, like apologists, who will disagree with us that it's been manipulated or adjusted. Some of them are good friends of mine. But yeah, I mean, I think there are obvious errors or inconsistencies and stuff like that. Well, let me ask you this, like, and I'm not by any means trying to belittle your experience or anything. I've had a past in addiction myself, not crack or anything like that, but I've been around the AA and NA movement, and a lot of people in there would talk about higher powers, and they talk about, you know, faith in things. Do you think it was possible that someone could give up crack, as you say, or someone be in your situation and call out to a different god and come to the same experience, like give up crack the next day?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I believe that, yeah.
Look, so this is okay. I'm trying to be respectful because obviously I don't want you to like go, well, you know, it must not have been Jesus. Let's go get a crack pipe. I know you're not going to do that because you're, you know, it sounds like you've got your life way more sorted than you did back then. But I'm just wondering if that's the case, if someone can call out to another god, a god that you don't believe in, and you can call out to a god that you now believe in, doesn't that kind of demonstrate?
Like that. I don't know you're going to say it like that. Oh, well, that's something else, bro, you know? Yeah.
Do you think is like, when you say it's something else, do you mean that like you think the other gods are like demonic spirits or something like that?
No, what I believe is what I said to you before, that Jesus is a son of God, but got manipulated into being God, and he was praying. Jesus prayed like Muslims. Jews prayed like Muslims. So what I'm saying is they all manipulated the Islam faith into something that is not today, bro. You know what I mean? So like Jesus,
the Islam faith?
yes, and the Christian faith, bro.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I guess what I was you okay?
Yeah, I'm okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What I was saying before, with the part that I disagreed with what you were saying, is you said you need to have faith to see, right?
Then I take that back. So
Oh, you don't, but you don't believe that you don't have to have faith.
God's faith, God's real, bro.
Whether you have faith or not. How would someone decide which God is real?
Well, there's only one God, and that's when the manipulation comes into play. And guess who manipulated? The Jews, bro. The Jews did that.
Look, I'm going to have a hard ban on talking about the Jews right now, especially with all the anti-Semitism that's going around online. The Bible scholars that I know of don't talk about Jews manipulating anything. They talk about the New Testament being written down, like the Gospels being written down between 70 and 100 CE, 30 to 40 years after the accounts they recall. I got a whole video about this called "Are the Gospels Reliable?" I don't think it's okay to blame the Jews for that, especially when there's not really any evidence of that. In fact, I've heard more people say the Catholic Church is more to blame for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, they actually are too. You know, because they praise to a statue. You know, and that's forbidden. That's not allowed.
So how do you determine the difference between like a belief that's correct in the Bible and a belief that's not correct?
Well, what do you mean?
Well, so we started this whole conversation by me pointing out that if a God needs to rest on the seventh day, he's not all powerful. And you're saying, yes, he is. And I'm saying, well, now I'm asking, well, if it's been corrupted, if the word of God has been corrupted, how do we know that?
He even said it in
That
the
part,
Bible that his word's going to be changed. So
yeah, but how do we?
do
How do we know that he's been? How do we know if he's being? If that part of the Bible is the part that's accurate or not accurate? What if that's the corrupted part?
It could be, but I doubt it.
So how do you determine what's corrupted and what's not corrupted?
Well, you can just tell, like, you can just tell that he said that his words are going to be changed. How is that corrupted when his words have been changed so many times? How so?
Well, I don't mean to play the role of apologist at the moment. I'm now defending the Christian Bible, but there's a lot in the Christian Bible that hasn't been changed. There are internal consistencies.
It's been changed. I've been in jail for 13 months, read heaps of Bibles, heaps of Qurans, and the Bibles have been so different. Not one Bible has been the same. Not one.
So the Bible wasn't written in English; it was written in Coney Greek. The New Testament was written in Coney Greek, and the Old Testament was written in Hebrew. Those Hebrew and Greek manuscripts are generally the same. There's not much difference between them. In fact, that's one of the things that Christianity has more than most other religions, is it has hundreds and hundreds of thousands of manuscripts that all say the same thing. There are errors, but there are errors like punctuation errors or a misspelling of a word. But for the most part, like 99.9%, they all say the same thing. Now, to play defense against what I just said there, they're all manuscripts from the 2nd century, so hundreds of years after the accounts which they try and state. But yeah, it's not, the Bible hasn't been corrupted over the years. There are different translations that have been used when different manuscripts come out.
Now, aren't you an atheist?
Yeah.
So why did you disagree? Why did you just agree that the Bible has not been changed?
Just because the Tux TV said subscribe to Deep Drinks. Thank you so much, everyone. If you like content like this, go subscribe to Deep Drinks. It's my other channel where I have conversations with guests. But so I'm an atheist because I started investigating my beliefs, and I realized that even though I had so we're going to talk a little bit about what I experienced. So I can just give you a quick rundown about how I became a Christian and how I stopped becoming a Christian, if you like.
Mm-hmm.
So I grew up kind of going to church, becoming a Christian, as a Christian, like a young lad, brought to church and stuff as a kid. And then when I was a teenager, I kind of stopped caring about that stuff and not going to church. I got invited to a youth group by a bunch of girls, so I went along. I had what I would call a spiritual experience where I was 16 years old, looking down in a puddle of tears, shaking, felt like a completely changed person, felt like I had no hatred in my heart. I asked God for my forgiveness, and I knew that salvation was the free gift. I asked for it and I got it, and I repented for my sins, and then went on to be a youth pastor. I went to do Bible college, learnt the Bible academically, went on to be a youth pastor. I spoke in tongues. I prayed for people for miracles. I had a very strong faith. And eventually I lost the job as a youth pastor. And then about 4 or 5 years later, I started to investigate what I believed and why. And I came to realize that the reasons I had for belief weren't reason enough to believe what I believed.
So why was that? Have you done more research to humans and the earth?
Yeah, so I was a young Earth creationist. So I did believe the Earth was 6,000 years old at one stage. I didn't believe in evolution, and part of my deconstructing experience was looking at the evidence for young Earth creationism and evolution, and trying to. Eventually, I would go and look at what provides more novel testable predictions, evolution. Then I would look at the creation stories in the Bhagavad Gita, in the Mahabharata. Look at the creation stories in Shinto. Look at the creation stories in Islam. Look at the creation stories in Judaism, Christianity, in Buddhism. And I would ask myself, well, one, they were written within the last 3,000 years at least. Okay, the human species, humanity has been around for what I think it's like 300,000 years. And as you mentioned, there were rituals happening even back then, rituals and what appears to be proto religions. And there's and I started looking at where the Bible gets, how the Bible was put together, and I could clearly see man's involvement through the whole process. And then I realized that well, is the Bible, is my personal experiences enough to justify my belief in God? And then I realized that other religions have personal experiences, and I don't believe in their gods. And then I realized that, is the Bible, does the Bible tell an accurate account of what of how the universe is formed? And no, it doesn't. So,
right,
and so on.
You're making sense, bro, because I'm thinking the same. But there is a God out there. You know what I mean? Like,
I know what you mean. I know that feeling, but what I did is I came to the realization that I don't know if I can say there is a God out there. Okay, like if I was to say to you, do you believe in fairies?
no.
Right. But if I was to but if I was to provide evidence of fairies, would you believe in fairies then? Like if I showed you a fairy and I bring you down to the back of the garden and I showed you a fairy, you'd believe in fairies, right?
No.
You wouldn't? Even if I could show you fairies?
Oh, if you showed me, no.
Yeah.
If you showed me, yeah, I would. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how I think belief should start. So I think you should start saying, I don't know if this is true or not. I don't believe this thing. If you show me enough evidence, I'll change my mind. So I realized that the fairies, I don't believe in fairies, but if someone presented enough evidence, sure. I don't believe in aliens or that aliens exist on Earth, but if someone showed me enough evidence, sure. I don't believe in God, but if someone showed me enough evidence, sure. I don't think you should start by saying, I believe in God. Now, let's go looking for the evidence. I don't think that's an honest way to find the answer. I think that the best way is to go, okay, there are all these different groups saying that there is a God. What evidence do they have?
Yeah, right. So what do you have to say about the mark of the beast? And also, what do you have to say about humans being spiritual? Because we're spiritual, bro. Like, so what do you have to say about that? Like,
yeah, so the mark of the beast is a really interesting one. Hang on a sec. So one of the best scholars in the world, Bart Ehrman, 23 books he's written. He's the grade A distinguishing professor of New Testament studies.
Send me a photo of that book, bro, because I read a lot of books and I want to get that book too.
Yeah, it's by this guy. He produces.
Is that all right?
If you want.
Can I show you my book collection real quick?
Yeah, go for it.
It's all about knowledge. So. This one is about the world of nature, physics, universe, structure of universe, Earth and its resources, matter and energy. Yeah, but there's heaps of that, eh?
That's cool.
And that's why I believe God is real, because them books. And
someone has a question for you.
Yeah.
If fairies weren't real, then explain how I always receive money under my pillow when I lost my tooth.
I'm not gonna snitch, so.
No. So this book goes into a little bit. As you see, I've got a million little tabs. I could probably find it, but essentially the argument is, I'll just tell you what the argument is. So 666, it says, so what's the scripture? The scripture is, if anyone knows, we don't need to read it, but read it out. Read it out so everyone can understand the context.
Who's reading what? Sorry.
Yeah, so read out the section where it talks about the mark of the beast in Revelations. Do you know what that is?
Oh, I don't got the Bible on me.
Oh, okay. And you got a Quran. What kind of Christian are you? I'm just kidding.
I do have
So
a
the
Bible,
mark.
but
Yeah. It's better to look it up online. Where is it? Let me just find it.
and I told you I converted to Christianity a couple of months ago.
A couple of months ago. I thought it was a year ago.
No, 2022. So
Okay.
a couple of months ago, yeah.
Let me just find it. I'm sure this is.
I got the Bible on the phone. That helps anything?
Hang on. Let me just find it quickly. Revelation 13. Okay. All right, got it. Okay, cool. Then I saw. So this is the Revelation written by what I think people. I don't know if it's historically John, but people say it's John. It's someone called John. Then I saw another beast coming out of the earth. So this is a vision that he saw of the end times. Oh, actually, not even going to say end times because that's loading it. But this is a vision that he saw and was told to write down by God.
Mm-hmm.
Then I saw another beast coming out of the earth. He had 2 horns like a lamb, but he spoke like a dragon. He exercised all the authority over the first beast on his behalf and made the earth and its inhabitants worship the first beast, whose fatal wound had been healed. And he performed great and miraculous signs, even causing fire to come down from heaven, and the earth in full view of men. Because of the signs he was given power to do on behalf of the first beast he deceived, the inhabitants of the earth, he ordered them to set up an image in honor of the beast who was wounded by the sword and yet lived. He was given power to give breath to the image of the first beast, that he could speak and cause all who refused to worship the image to be killed. He also forced, so this is the part that you're talking about, he also forced everyone, small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on his right hand or on his forehead, so that no one could buy or sell any unless they had the mark, which is the name of the beast or the number of his name. This calls for wisdom. If anyone has insight, let him calculate the number of the beast, for it is man's number. His number is 666. So right there, you got a little clue, okay? This calls for wisdom. If anyone has insight, let him calculate the number. So in the Greek, I forgot what the actual term's called, but in the Greek, each letter has a numerical value, right? Let me just... And when you add up the different words, when you add it all up together, I'll just read this. Theologians typically support the interpretation that 666 is the numerical equivalent to the name and title Nero Caesar. Written in Aramaic, this can be the value 666 used in Hebrew numerology of gematria, and was also used secretly to speak against the emperor. Additionally, Nero Caesar in the Hebrew alphabet, which when interpreted numerically represents the numerical 50, 206, 50, 100, 600, 60, 200, which adds up to 666. So the most theologians believe the mark of the beast and 666 was in reference to Nero, who was killing Christians at the time.
Oh, really? What?
And another thing, and this is something they don't teach you in church, is the Bible explicitly states, now I know that you think that some parts are corrupted, but the Bible explicitly states that prophecies are only to be fulfilled within a generation, or 2, I think at most. They're never for like 2,000 years later. In fact, Jesus said, I tell you the truth, people standing here will not taste death until they see the Son of Man coming on the clouds and the end of the world happening. I tell you the truth, this generation will surely not pass away until they see the coming of the Son of Man on the clouds and the end of the world. They're just...
You know, when he says that, what if he's talking about just you? Like when your end time is coming, what if he's just talking about with just you? Do you know what I mean?
Well, he's talking specifically to the disciples. It says that the disciples came up to him as he was exiting the temple, and he said, "Look at these walls. These walls will be torn down. Look at the." He said, and then they said, "When will all this stuff happen?" And he said, "You will hear of wars and rumors of wars," and he says it specifically to his group of disciples. So apologetics, in my opinion, has really had to try hard to try and rectify that problem, which is a huge problem, which is that Jesus was supposed to return in his disciples' lifetime. But so that's what I think about 666 and the mark of the beast. But the other thing that what's the other thing that you mentioned? You asked me about?
Us being spiritual.
Oh, yeah. So I'm not an anthropologist by any means. I have no idea why we're spiritual. But if I look at religion personally, I think religion does a few really good things. It does a few things really well. It groups people together. It helps explain the cosmos so people can have like a shared story, a shared idea, a shared meaning. And so that's what religion is really good for. It's explaining the cosmos, building community, helping people have a fixed idea of like, and a fixed. It also helps people lay down their lives on behalf of their country and all those things like that, right? They believe they're going to a better place. When it comes to spirituality, I'm not 100% sure because, like, for example, my wife was a really strong Christian, and she said that she used to experience really strong emotions going to musicals, like seeing a musical. But if that musical was like a religious ceremony, we would have considered that a spiritual experience. So I don't even know if the word spiritual makes any more sense than just a type of emotion.
So you're saying it's more emotions than spiritual? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I guess I don't know what spiritual is. Like, what can you define what spiritual?
Well, basically what you just said, bro. Like, pretty much, yeah. So maybe we are like more emotion, more. How should I say it? We have more emotions than like any other animals or apes or whatever, you know. So
I think pigs might have more emotions than.
Yes, they do.
It's part of the why reason I don't eat meat, actually, is the way they're killed and stuff. But yeah, like, so that's my perspective on those things. But I don't know if I'm right or not. But that's where my research has led me.
Can I say my opinion on what you just said?
Yeah, go for it.
I believe emotions are spiritual, you know, because you feel something, and that's spiritual. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, that's what I believe.
So, okay, how would do you think do you think all emotions are spiritual or just special ones? Like when you're sleeping with someone, is that spiritual?
Well, I don't mean like spiritual religiously. I mean like spiritual just in general, bro, you know, like having emotions is pretty much like, how can I explain it? Fuck. Didn't mean to swear, but
these are deep ideas.
yeah, bro. You know, this one
take your time.
like all this time, like just deep thoughts, and I need someone to talk to about it too. So yeah, I believe like emotions are spiritual, but not in a religious way. Like, cause how can I say it? We connect with like humans are meant to connect with other people, and that's spiritual, you know. Like, does that make sense?
I just don't know what's spiritual. Like, I think you kind of like. Have you ever heard someone say, "God is the universe"?
Yeah,
the universe is God, and you're kind of like, okay, well then, it kind of just feels like God doesn't mean anything anymore. It just means like, is this another word for universe? That's what I feel like the word spiritual means in that situation, where it's like someone's just emotional. It's like, okay, so they're spiritual. Like it's just like it to me. Yeah.
Say that again. To you, it doesn't feel like what? It feels like just a universe. Like
so if someone if someone says like, oh, this is just spiritual, and they just mean the same thing as emotional, I just don't know why we need the word spiritual. Why don't we just get rid of that word? Or why do we get rid of the word emotional and just say spiritual?
Well, we can get rid of that word, and then like it wouldn't mean anything if we just say emotions.
But what if we got rid of the word emotions and just said spiritual? If all emotions are just spiritual, like how do you differentiate? What I'm asking is, how do you differentiate between emotions and spiritual?
Emotions, spiritual is like when you connect with something, bro, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like energy going through you, going through someone else. So that's emotions, bro. You're feeling something. You have something going through your body. Does that make sense?
Can you have that without spirituality?
I'm not. I'm just saying, like, spiritual without religious. Like, I don't know how to explain it, bro.
It's like I said, they're deep questions and ideas. What I might do is I might ask if anyone else wants to join. I'll actually, and discuss anything that we've been talking about, I'm going to post in the comments the link, and if anyone wants to jump in, they can feel free to jump in and we can continue this conversation. But if no one cares, then I mean, we've only got like a viewer, so like or like a couple viewers, but people have been commenting, so that's nice.
I could see if a friend can come in if that's what you want, or
hey,
I can invite my mate.
Yeah, go for it.
Hold up.
Just make sure he knows not to say any racial slurs or get nude or anything.
How do I send a link to him? Or do I need to go on your account or something?
I'll send it to you over Twitter. And then you can jump off your phone and I'll let you back in when you set up again. Okay.
All right, too easy, bro.
All right. See you, mate. Thanks for talking. Hang on. I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah.
How's everyone doing? Thanks for those coming out. As you can see, so the Jews killed our prophet. Can this comment here, you can fuck right off. So about those fairies, exactly. So McQueel09Z, are you Mike? Do I remember you correctly? Are you Mike? There was this legend of a dude. Legend. One of the badass, most based Christians. Yeah. Mike. I won't say your last name because I don't, well, what you had on Discord, but we got some lovely people. Communism is Judaism. Co-Partifati. Love to see you jump on here, my dude. Love to see you jump on here. Hiding behind your Nazi bullshit. These are all Brian Grossman's friends. Oh, these are all Brian. It's been a while since it's been on this channel. So I had there was this brain dead special eds kid who named Brian Grossman. I shouldn't say that. He's brain dead though. He's not special eds, but he's brain dead. And he was like the dumbest person I've ever engaged with. And he sent all his lackeys my way to get him to debate. But Mike Easy is sadly not on the Discord anymore. Mike, come on. We need you back. We need you back. I'm just going to block this white supremacist piece of shit. So, Mike, you left the Discord because there was not enough Christians. Fair enough. But please come back. You're one of the best. We're even talking about in the moderators only section, saying that we're spewing that you left because you engaged really well. with people. I'm sorry that you felt like you're getting dogpiled. That's super rough. But if you come back, well, to be with the Discord, we are going through some changes on this YouTube channel. As you can see, this is no longer called David McDonald. It's called Post Faith, and that's the new name I'm going to go under when after the baby's born, and we're going to start making some more content. So good. There's so many, like the fragile masculinity. I don't mind. There's so many. There's so many. So many really like dumb comments from like racist, smooth brain knuckle dragging hicks. I don't mind the dog piles, lol. I just needed a break, but it's time to come back. Well, we would love to have you back, Mike. But yeah, I'm gonna try and do some more content. So I'm about to have a baby, our first baby through IVF, which is very exciting. But yeah, so I guess I'll talk more a little bit about the question of the stream. So would an all-powerful God need to rest on the seventh day? What do you think, Mike? So I don't think I think you'd have to define all-powerful and rest before you can even start to begin to answer that question. All-powerful to me would mean, like, if there's any room for improvement, it's not all-powerful, right? You could make the argument that this comes down to, like, can God lift up a boulder? Can God create a boulder so big that he himself could not lift it? It's like it doesn't really make sense. Like, it's hard to, it doesn't work, right? Might get into like mathematical problems of infinity and stuff. But yes. But I think it's the same problem. So a random person is throwing yeah, it will come down to defining those two things. And I think that what happens is people will define things. So this is what I don't like about a lot of Christian apologetics, is a lot of people will redefine words so strongly that they almost become meaningless. So for example, when Jesus says, I tell you the truth, this generation will not pass until all these things happen, the coming of the Son of Man. Or, I tell you the truth, people standing here will not taste death until all these things happen. The apologetics behind that are like, well, this generation can mean a race of people, talking about the Jews. Or they might say, people standing here will not taste death. That's talking about salvation. It's talking about the second death. But I think that is a dishonest way of looking at things. I think that you've then translated it to say, I tell you the truth, people standing here will taste death in a surface level terms, right? They will taste death. They will die. This generation will pass on. but not this race. So it's almost like you've translated the Bible to say the exact opposite of what it says in plain reading. In plain reading, it says this generation will not pass until all of these things happen. So you then begin, okay, why don't any Bible scholars translate it like this? I tell you the truth, this generation will pass away, but this race won't pass away. Why don't Bible scholars say, I tell you the truth, people standing here will get salvation, but they will die before the returning of the... Like, why don't the Bible scholars translate it that way? And secondly, how do we... So if it can be translated as the exact opposite of what the Bible actually says, then why can't we say, well, Jesus died on the cross, but actually he didn't. He never died on the cross. He did the exact opposite. Or, oh, okay, it says that they blew their horns around Jericho over seven times or whatever, and then the walls of Jericho fell down. But actually, it was the opposite. It was all rubble, and then the walls came up. And like what else in the Bible can we say the exact opposite of? And that's where I think apologetics gets dishonest. I think most apologetics is starting from a dishonest position. At least if someone can't remove themselves from that apologetic mindset. And so like apologetics is just to defend something, right? It's like, I'm defending this idea, and I've done all the research and stuff. Like, that's great, but you still need to be able to walk away from that perspective for the investigation. Otherwise, you're kind of going in with presuppositions. Agreed, it can get very unregulated in apologetics. When I found out about words being inserted into the many translations, I stopped dabbling in apologetics. Yeah. Oh, it's been really good to see everyone again. See everyone jump on here. It's nice to see everyone. Like I forgot about a lot of you, to be honest. What does it say? Thumbs up. So cool. Yeah, awesome. Countryside update. It's so funny. So I've had to block, and this is part of why my talking isn't going well. Had to block communism is Judaism. The Jews killed our prophet. Donald Trump, father of the vaccine. Rabbis call us Amalek. I mean, these people are all just coming from their Daddy Grossman, Brian Grossman. It's 0 Dark 30. Doorknob head. I have missed you as well. Oh, no, actually, no, hang on a sec. I see you over in Deep Drinks, don't I? So maybe because we got 4 people watching now, hey, maybe we can do a bit of a poll just in the, I don't know how to do it on the thing, but I'm thinking about creating more sorry. As you gain more notoriety, you gain more valued guests. So I'm thinking about doing like longer, more effort, like high effort content. So with longer gaps between the episodes. So with Deep Drinks, we go live every week. We had a break over Christmas. Besides that, I try and hit it every weekend. I'm trying to get a new guest on. Actually, I should share the screen and show us what we've been doing, because a lot of people miss out. But so next week we have Michael Granado to come on. So in 3 days, and I haven't prepared for this too much because this is his PhD thesis. So I feel like this is going to be me sitting and learning. And also I needed someone like this to come on because it'll be essentially the same day as baby comes. In fact, I might not even be able to attend it. I might have to push it a week or something. But the following week, we have Faye coming on, and Faye is I haven't created a thumbnail for it, but she escaped a Hasidic Jewish cult, which was you know, I've heard her story over email, and it's incredible. We had Thomas Westbrook come on again, and to talk about miracles and why doesn't God heal amputees. That was a fun one. We had Seth Andrews coming on talking about how he became deconverted. That was a fun one as well. And he's just such a nice guy. He actually sent me, let me just check. He actually sent me, his 2 books, because I said, man, I need to get a hard copy of these. How do I get them signed? And he paid for them, and he signed them for me. To my friend Deb McDonald, thank you, Seth Andrews. Like, absolute legend. Yeah, lots of big old guns. Yeah. Yeah, has a lot of people come on. We had Caitlin Ugaretz, will be a professor probably very soon, talking about Shinto. That was so hard. It was so educational because I knew nothing. I've read a whole book on like so many things on Shinto, and I still didn't understand it. Purity Culture Horror Stories, which was awesome, with Feral Passer's wife. I'm going on her podcast soon. That'll be fun. She's great. She's absolutely amazing. And of course, Derek Lambert of Myth Vision. We did a Christmas special, and both of us. He's got his little elf in his shirt, his hat on. I got my little fake hat on. It was a great time. Yeah, it was a very steep learning curve, and I feel like I didn't do a very good job. And how can I forget? We also had Eli Yodas, who was a Amish and left the Amish church, and that was harrowing. I'm surprised it doesn't have more views, to be honest, because it's such a crazy story. I interviewed a bank robber, Russell Manser, who now works to rehabilitate and like help people get justice who have been, because he was sexually abused when he was a minor by he was raped by the institution, like people in the institution. They bring in pedophiles and they raped him when he was only like 16, and then he went to like a maximum security prison when he was like 17. Derek is amazing. I remember his first few episodes when I wasn't sure about Derek, but he has did it big time. Yeah, I 100% agree. When I first met Derek, he was almost too friendly with me, and it came across as like fake, almost like I was like, this guy doesn't care about me or whatever, because he's just too friendly. But that's like I've spent hours on the phone to him, just talking about like my channel, and back when Deep Drinks was tiny, it's still only 500 subscribers, but when I only had like 100 subscribers, and he would give me advice. We talked about things. Like, he's just such a nice guy, and he's so busy, and he took the time. He's become a friend, a good friend of mine. There isn't much I wouldn't do for him, as far as online friends go. We had Anastasia Paraskevova, who is in Ukraine, actually helping the soldiers. Her dad was killed by a Russian missile as he was standing on the balcony of his Kharkiv home. But she's awesome as well. But let me just show you something. This is where this is just me just talking about Deep Drinks. Hey, look, I love this. I love the conversations I get to have with people. So when she first came on, living under siege and fighting for human rights, living under siege with Anastasia Paraskevova. So this is her footage that she's taken in Kharkiv. There's her little dog. There's just like explosions. This footage isn't hers. Let me just skip through a little bit. Yeah, crazy, right? So she was interviewed by a few news organizations, and she started raising money for bandages to help the troops. There's him. There's some of the aid, and they've raised thousands of dollars now from streams that are much bigger than mine. But a few Deep Drinks guests sent us some money, which was awesome. So much information on Derek, more info in his little finger than I have in everything. His father, I think, was special ops. I think of Derek as special ops of atheism. Derek, what's cool about Derek too is you can have conversations about like he just knows so much, and that's why I titled the stream "The Derek Knows Everything Christmas Special." Yeah. So these guys are just setting up. The guys are going to come back on. I don't know how much longer I'll go for. But yeah, Anna has become a friend as well. I don't become friends with every guest, but she's amazing. But what's crazy, right, is this is the first time we spoke, and I said to her, I said, you know, obviously it'd be rude for us to get a drink when we're setting up the interview. I'm like, it'd be rude for me to ask you for a drink because you're in a fucking war zone, right? And she's like, no, we're Ukrainian and we drink. And so she's like, this is what I have in my house. And I was like, okay, let me find it. So, and I was like messaging because it was so hard to get this Ukrainian wine she had. It was so hard for her. So hard for me to get it. I was messaging like community groups. Does anyone have this wine randomly? Like, and I couldn't find it, but all right. But anyway, so at this moment here, airstrikes happen, which means that, you know, her dad died of a airstrike, not similar. Died of a missiles, not similar to this situation where she could have been killed. So airstrikes are going off. She's checking out the window. She comes back and she's like, "We've got to go." And I'm like, "Oh shit!" Like, I'm like, "Do we need to cut?" Like, and she's like showing everyone like, "These are the airstrikes that's going to come." That's like saying, and she's running essentially to the corridor, which is like the safest place to be when there's an airstrike, because usually the corridors are more stable. So we did the rest of the interview. We did part of the interview like chilling in the corridor here. Yeah, it was. If she's still accepting donations and still doing really good stuff. She'll be on more and more, I'm sure. We had What is a Man with student Dr. Ben. That was awesome. Ben's a legend. He's just sick. And we spoke about his journey, discovering that he was transgender. When I see Anna, I think of someone who is going to be one of the coolest grandmothers some lucky grandkids could ever imagine. 100%. Yeah. We had Biddy Buddha. She was cool. We talked about ritual agnosticism. She's so cool. And she told me before this that she was starting an OnlyFans. And I was like, is there anything you want to promote? And she's like, nope. So she didn't promote it, but now she has an OnlyFans. So if you want to see Biddy's bits, go check out Biddy Buddha's OnlyFans. All right, guys, I'm just trying to see if these peeps. I'm just gonna. Showing all my DMs. It's kind of unprofessional. We had Tate Hoskins' gay exorcism. That was good. Nitty, Churchill cult. Knew how to have hard conversations with Reed Nice Wonder. Look what this dude does. He sees. So we set up like he sets up 3 cameras for the drink, the pouring of the drink, which is so cool. It was good times. Where are these guys? I've seen a few people transition real time. I've seen a few people transition real time on the interwebs. I think I also saw with the Mission band, but I'm not sure. Maybe he was already down the path when I first saw him. Yeah. All right, I remember that. Yeah. Doorknob Head is every time I see your profile photo, it looks like a man with the most glorious beard that I've ever seen. Is that actually a photo of you? I have a large beard. Yes, nice. Yes, awesome. So it's funny when I'm just getting these guys to hurry up. So when I think everyone must be waking up in America. What time is it in America? Time in Texas. 5 a.m. Time in LA. 3 a.m. Maybe it's people still up. Time in New York. 7 a.m. Yeah, cool. It's a negative of another image I had, so it might show up brighter. Yeah, it's a beast of a beard. Oh, right. So you still up or getting up? But so when it came time for our wedding, I made all of my groomsmen grow beards. I wonder if I can find an image. Let me find an image. Oh no, we got Stay Woke. Looks like he's back. Bring him on in a sec. Oh, cool. What do you do, Doorknob Head? Yeah. I'm just sending this to Brandon. All right, I might have to cut the stream abruptly if these dudes are trolls or whatever, but let's see. Hey. How you doing? I can't hear your audio if you're doing anything.
Are you there?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah. Nah, we're not trolls, bro. It was just
cool.
setting up tablet and stuff and all.
Yeah, cool. Who's your friend? What context do I know this person? Like, what? Is he a Christian, or is he a Muslim, or is he a roommate, or who is it?
He's Christian.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Sweet. Did you bring in? Is he? Yeah, I've sent it back to him. I've sent him the link. I'm just waiting for him to get on now. Is he like a pastor or anything, or like a?
No.
Like, did you bring in the big guns? Okay.
No,
All right.
I can bring in the big guns if you want, but it'll have to be tomorrow. Up to you.
Oh, I mean, if someone's keen to have a conversation, and like I was saying before, my wife is like 3 days over, 3 or 4 days over the due date, or 4 days over the due date of her baby. So any moment now we could be running to the emergency room to the room to get a baby done.
Congratulations, bro. Is it your first? Thanks. Or?
Yeah, first. Yeah. Can
Good
you message
luck.
your friend and just let him know? Thanks. Can you message your friend and just let him know? Because I don't think he's seen the link.
He should have seen it. Just give me a moment. Sorry.
Oh, yep. Stay Woke number 2.
Is he
in?
Hey,
Stay Woke number 2. Yep.
Okay, cool.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, good. Is it okay if you turn your camera on?
Yep.
Awesome. Hey, man. Nice lights.
Yeah, that's
I like that. So, what's up? How you been? Like, what's new?
Nothing new is happening.
How do you know Mitch here?
I know him from years ago. I met him online.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Are you in Australia as well? You don't have to say if you don't want to.
Yeah, I'm in Australia as well.
Ah, cool, cool. So Mitch and I were talking about a random tweet that I tweeted out. I'm not sure if you've seen it. Do you have any thoughts on it or not? If you've seen it,
I've told him about it.
okay. So
Yeah.
I'll share my screen so you can see. It's a bit of a fun one. So I just tweeted a thought that came to mind. By the way, an all-powerful God shouldn't need to rest on the seventh day. What do you think about
Me or Brendan?
that? Brendan.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how to answer that.
So are you a Christian or?
I'd say I am.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't read the Bible much, but I do need to read it
Lying.
more.
He's lying. We've been reading the Bible together for the last 4 days.
Yeah, we're reading it for the last 4 days. Yes.
Yeah. Well, just so you know, I'm not out here to like dunk on anyone or like debate bro anyone or whatever. Like I'm just after an interesting conversation.
David, can I just say something real quick to Brendan? Brendan, this
Yeah.
guy's like really respectful, you know. He's not gonna throw you under the bus or anything.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
he has understanding and yeah, bro.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah. What do you want to chat about, I guess? Or do you have any thoughts? Or do you want to ask me anything?
Yeah, I've got a question for you, David.
Yeah.
Do you believe in demonic spirits? Do you believe in ghosts?
No.
No? Why?
No. I haven't seen sufficient reason to believe in ghosts.
So you're saying that you don't have a soul? Is that what you're saying?
Well, can you define soul for me? What's a soul?
That's a good question. Yourself.
So we'll go over like this happens a lot. Like people will, what we do in society is we tend to load certain words like spirituality, soul. They're like loaded with emotions, right? But
yeah,
I guess where I come from is what I was explaining before is I try and start from the presupposition. Like I try not to believe anything until I have reason to believe it. So if you ask me like, do I want ice cream? I'm not going to like sit there and like ponder like, is ice cream what I like? I can just tell you yes or no. But to ask me like a big question, like, does an alien live in my basement, or do goblins live under the bridge, or anything like, I'm going to like have to think about it and go, okay, what do you mean by goblins? Because if it turns out that goblins is just a slang word for wombats, then I'm like, well, maybe there are wombats living under the bridge. Like, what I mean? Like, I don't know. So I have to clarify, like, what do you mean by soul? Is it like a Christian idea of a soul, or
no, just a soul, bro? Because that's what we have.
I don't. Well, I don't know. You'd have to define it, and then I can tell you whether or not I think we have one.
It's pretty obvious. Like, pretty obvious. I shouldn't have to define it, Do you know what a soul means?
Well, that's what I'm asking. What do you mean by soul?
Energy, connection, memories.
Okay. So I believe that memories are stored in the brain, and there could be some evidence that we have some neurons in our stomach that may, I don't think they'll be able to hold memories, but I think that it's rooted in biology, if it is anything, is my understanding for memories. Energy, I'm not too sure what you mean by that. I mean, we have like certain electrical.
Feed off each other, right? So what I mean is, you have energy, I have energy. We feed off each other, bro. That's soul. That's spiritual. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know how I would. I don't know. I guess I don't know. I mean, it sounds like I'm being pedantic, but I'm not. I still don't know, because like I could just as easily say we have a strong emotional connection, and I can, if that's what you mean by a soul, emotional connection, then yeah, I believe I have a soul, but I don't think that's what you mean. So I'm wondering. So I believe we have an emotional connection, and we can riff off each other, and we can say jokes and laugh, and yeah, but I'm just not sure. Like, I don't know why you'd call it a soul.
Well, just different. Same name. You know what I mean? Different name, same meaning, pretty much.
Well, if it's just that, if you're asking whether or not I can have the ability to have what feels like a connection with someone, and then I can riff with them, then yeah, I believe I have that. If
Yeah,
that's what you mean.
Yes, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, then yeah, I guess I believe I have a soul then, under that definition.
How is the Earth made like this? Why is the Earth made like this? How can we be living here with no problems? Well, with problems, but how can we evolve? How did we evolve from all the problems that we had? How?
Let me just, before we jump onto that, I'll just read out a few comments to get your to make sure I engage with the audience.
Okay.
Someone asked you the question: Is that soul a little ghost that runs our meat machine? Is that what you believe the soul is? I think that's a serious question.
Well, I don't know what they mean by meat machine. What is a meat machine?
Like our body. I'll rephrase that to be a little less insulting, I guess. Is the soul the thing that helps us, like animates our body and like tells us like our personality and things like that?
Yeah. 100%.
Do animals have soul? Do animals have souls?
I believe they do, yeah.
Do like parasites and like what do plants have souls?
Plants. Actually, yeah. Some plants do.
Do rocks have souls?
No.
Okay. Do you believe in do you believe that we've all came from a single celled organism? Do you believe in the theory of natural selection? The theory of evolution by natural selection? Like, so we all came from a common ancestor, 3.4 billion years ago, as far back as we can go.
The book that I'm reading, it talks about it, bro. So yeah.
Okay. So how did something go from? I mean, we're getting a little. We're gonna get into the abiogenesis memes, and I feel like it's gonna be not a fruitful conversation. I was just gonna ask you, like, when does like non-living matter become living? Like, when does it get the soul?
That's a good question, bro. I cannot answer that.
That's fine. We're just having a conversation.
Yeah.
So he said sorry if you found that disrespectful. Yeah. I don't think you were disrespectful. I just think it can come across like that.
No, I just don't know what they do. That's all.
Yeah. So what was the next thing you were asking? Why are we here on this earth?
Yeah. How do we evolve? How do we evolve from all the trouble that we had all these years, thousands, hundreds?
Yeah, so we have a pretty good understanding in science for many things, but we don't have all the. Hey,
do you believe in science?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
You believe 100% of science, right? 100%.
I don't. I believe in a scientific method, and I believe that we should use the scientific method to investigate the natural world. I don't know if we can find a better tool to investigate the natural world than the scientific method, which is, to observe something, form a hypothesis, test that hypothesis, build theories from a group of facts. So we have some theories about where the cosmos, how the cosmos formed, and that theory is well established, called the Big Bang theory. We don't know how or why, or even if that's a sensible word to say where or why or how the Big Bang started. I don't even know. Like, we don't have answers to that. We know how planets are formed, and we know that we're in just the right zone to allow life. But there are estimated millions of other exoplanets that are in that same zone. We just don't have access to be able to get to them. But then, and we know that we evolved from a common ancestor 3.4 billion years ago. We don't know, though, how the first single-celled organism came to be. So that's the study of abiogenesis. So
talk about that one.
Yeah, so we currently have a few models that have lost favor recently, but we have shown, like, it's called the RNA world hypothesis. So we've shown that if you take common elements that were around in the Earth, 3.4 billion years ago, and you electrify them essentially from like a lightning strike underwater, we can have RNA form, and RNA is the precursor to the proteins that build DNA. Or maybe I'm getting that wrong, but essentially we've proven that it could have happened. However, that theory has fallen out of favor. That hypothesis, I should say, has fallen out of favor. So that's not how we think that happened, but how the first single cell came to be. But we're still looking, but we just don't know yet.
Well, I believe, like, exactly what you said, bro. It happened in water. You know what I mean? That's it, and then it evolved from there, and then they got the skin, and then they came onto the land. And I believe that's from God, because let me tell you why. For that to happen, for them not to get extinct, bro, they would have had to have something protecting them. You know what I mean? Like, does that make sense?
So are you saying that, like, God or something was protecting them to evolve all the way up to where we are now?
Yeah, I do. Because let's get this straight, yeah. How did the Earth? How is the Earth made like this for us to be living here and to, how can I say it, to be able to live, to keep living? You know, like the food, the grass.
Well,
because what else? This is where we need to talk about to get to where God is. You know.
Yeah. What were you going to say? Were you saying something, Brandon?
Yeah, I was going to say, I believe that they lived because he blessed the land and the animals and allowed them to reproduce from large and small because he was pleased with what he saw.
So can I ask you about, what about the animals that went extinct? Like we have, like, I think it's an estimated like 50 billion animals that have gone extinct, and we have fossils of like entire, like, trilobites, which covered all the oceans of the world, now extinct. A human has never held a trilobite, and there are thousands of species of trilobites. Why do they go, like?
That's a good question.
See, that's another good question, bro. Like,
well, thank you. It seems that yeah, it's so I think that there are people who say that God, like, guided evolution, like evolution was guided by God. In fact, I think if you look at one of my friends, Inspiring Philosophy, I think he is a theistic evolutionist, which means that he believes, like, a God. I think it means that God kind of helped evolution along, but the theory of evolution by natural selection works really well as well. Like, it's amazing, like, what we can kind of prove with it. So it's just that, like, if you have like a group of animals and like one of them I'll give a good example, right? So like, let's say there is a really cold few years and there's a lot of more snow in a certain area. Like, let's go back a long time ago, and there are bears hunting seals on the ice flats of somewhere, right? If a bear is born, like let's say out of a cub, they're born with slightly different hues of fur. So, and let's say one is born with a lighter fur than the others, then that bear then has the ability to blend in with the environment much easier than the brown bears. So it has a higher chance of getting food, which then has a higher chance of survival, which then has a higher chance of passing on its genetic material, and then its children have a higher chance of coming out also the same color or even a lighter hue. And you repeat that process over and over and over and over and over and over again, and then you eventually get polar bears, and eventually the genes have split so much that that polar bear can no longer mate with that bear. They're like now two distinct species. I don't know if polar bears and bears can mate. They probably can. But there are like lots of areas in the world where like there are like birds, like ring species of birds. There's like a mountain range, right? So there's like a population of birds here, and they slowly migrate like over like thousands of years or whatever up around the mountain range. And by the time they reach the other side, if they join together again, they can no longer mate because they're two different species, because the genes have changed so much to evolve to their specific surroundings. I think the theory of evolution by natural selection works a lot better than theistic evolution.
All right.
Because it kind of explains, like, I think theistic evolution is kind of paints God to be a little cruel too. Do you know? Because it's like he's letting like everything die.
Like, just give me a moment, please.
Yeah, no worries.
Someone's trying to call me. Hold on.
Yeah, I'll bring you back in. How you doing, Brandon?
Yeah, not bad.
What were you getting up to before you jumped on?
Nothing. Just relaxing. It's like 11 p.m. down here. So
you in New South Wales or Victoria or somewhere?
Down Victoria, yeah.
Oh yeah, I have family in Melbourne. It's 10 p.m. here, which reminds me I probably should get off in a little bit. But
yeah.
So did you grow up Christian?
Well,
or are you comfortable telling a little bit about yourself at all, or?
I don't know. I'm just a little bit nervous, but
yeah, that's totally fine. I've been super nervous on some streams before, so I get that feeling. Just if you feel any better, there's like 3 people watching, so you don't have to feel that nervous.
That's all right. Yeah, I was I don't know if I was born Christian, but you know, slowly over time you start to believe, like in life things go wrong, and a lot of us have sinned. So it all depends on how you react to things in life, I suppose.
Do you mind if I ask, like, what kind of Christian are you? Are you like, do you attend a church? Do you believe in miracles and healings and stuff, or are you more traditional?
I'm not really sure, but
yeah,
I do have belief in him.
Someone asked you if you could define sin. Can the gentleman define sin? I think he's trying to be super respectful now as a joke. I'll bring on.
What did I miss? Sorry about that.
That's all right. We're defining sin.
Sin is basically in human nature. Basically, we sin without even knowing. Like swearing is a sin. Anger, greed.
Are they like, when you say, are they like inherently bad sins? Someone said, I think of it as Doorknob Head, who said, I think of it as divine laws posted in heaven next to the fruit dispenser. So someone said, isn't it kind of convenient that human nature, look at the tree, said, I know why I keep saying so on. Isn't it kind of convenient that human nature is sin and used to manipulate by religion? Mike said these things are not sin. He's a Christian, by the way, but can lead to sin. So anger, swearing, something I learned about. I'm hearing what you guys are saying. Something that I learned about in when I was studying. I read the Bhagavad Gita, and it had which is the Hindu text. It's part of the Mahabharata, part of the It's an important text for Hindus, and in that it was like giving a definition of dharma and karma, and dharma is like something's, I guess, nature. So with a scorpion, if you were to pick a scorpion up and it would sting you, but for the scorpion, that's not sin, that's not bad, that's its nature, that's its dharma. It's designed to sting. It's going to sting. And with now I might be butchering this a little bit, but my understanding is within Hinduism, and I could be wrong, my brain is a little scattered from thinking about all these little concepts, but within Hinduism, it's like we have this nature, and some things produce dharma, so like good works, love, caring for someone, and some things produce karma. So sin in Christianity is kind of similar to karma, where it's a negative thing you should move away from. So like it talks about the different yogas in the Bhagavad Gita. I think it's where yoga comes from, actually. One of them is like the stretchy thing, the stretches that we do here in Australia, but some of the other yogas are like giving to the poor, caring for the needy, praising God and being holy, not going after sexual immorality and things like that. I think, and looking at that and seeing that and seeing Christianity's version of like ideas of sin and stuff, I don't necessarily see too much of a problem with those concepts. I think that this is what I was explaining to Mike before. Mike, did I just get that wrong? It's not Mike, is it? Totally Mike, it is Mike. What's your name?
Mitch.
Mitch. Sorry, I was saying, because we have Mike in the chat, and I was like, oh, sorry, Mitch and Brandon. Oh my gosh, sorry about that. So I was saying before, what was I saying? I was saying before that religion is really good at organizing society and giving us a place in the cosmos and telling us like a story that helps us get through life, that gives us hope and puts people in the right places, right? Mike just said lol. Actual Mike, not Mitch. Mike said lol. So there are those people, we put things in their places, but I don't necessarily think that's true. I think what religion does, like, I don't think that's like cosmically true. Like there is some like outside pressure that says these things are bad. I just think like maybe in maybe in 500 BC in Palestine, if you ate prawns, you would usually get sick, or if you ate pigs, you would get sick from the diseases and parasites, and that's why they believe that God was telling them not to eat pork and not to eat shrimp, or like, hey, we can't have everyone going around murdering each other. You shall not steal. Hey, it's probably not a good idea to flirt to flirt with your neighbor's wife. You shan't covet your neighbor's possessions or sexual immorality. And then you go like across cultures, we have these organizations of like things that are okay and not okay. But what gets me, that makes me think that these aren't inspired by some divine judge, is that in the Bible, in the Bhagavad Gita, we have the caste system. So like people can be born as just untouchables. And India is still having problems with that today. And then in the Bible, in the New Testament and Old Testament, we have the endorsement of slavery, that is owning another person as property. And I think to myself, if God can tell you don't eat shrimp, he surely should be able to tell you don't own another human being as property. So that's what makes me think that these aren't divinely inspired, that they're just, unless you agree that slavery is a good thing. But I don't know if we want to go down there.
Nah.
Yeah.
Can't agree with that.
No.
Can't agree with slavery being good.
Yeah. Well, Mitch was saying before that that the Bible, he believes, has been corrupted. Do you believe that, Brandon?
The New Testaments, yes.
Okay. The Old Testament has instructions for slavery. Do you think that they are inspired by God?
That is a good question.
There's Exodus 21. There's Deuteronomy. It says, kill all the infants and to take the virgin girls for yourself.
I don't really believe in that.
So how do you, I'm kind of speed running here, but how do you determine what to believe and what not to believe? Like, what do you use to determine what's true and what's not true, or what's good and what's not good?
Maybe.
Can I step in and answer for you?
Yeah, go.
Yeah, it's all right.
I believe that is God's word, because I believe the Old Testament is purely him speaking, and I don't think it's right, but yeah, it is what it is, I guess.
Well, my tweet that started this whole adventure off is I'm not going to read that. I said an all-powerful God shouldn't need to rest on the seventh day. So that was me being a little bit spicy, right? Another spicy take that I have is is that I'm sitting here trying to defend God. I'm saying if there is a creator of the universe, he most likely isn't genocidal. He most likely isn't okay with slavery. Stop teasing God by saying he's the God of the Bible. And that's a super spicy take. What do you guys think of that? That I'm saying, hi, Melina. Thanks for popping in over from Twitter.
I'm confused.
Yeah, so you're telling me that God endorsed slavery, right? But you don't really like it, but it's there. And I'm saying stop teasing God. I'm saying, like, if you're saying that God endorses slavery, I'm saying that's not okay. Like, I'm the atheist saying God wouldn't be like that if you're teasing God. Stop teasing God. God wouldn't be like that if he existed.
Well, I'm not teasing him.
You're saying that he endorsed slavery?
How is that teasing?
Because you're saying that the God, the creator of the universe, thought it was okay to take his tribe of people and to tell them to murder another group of people and to take the little girls as slaves. I don't think God would do that. I don't think the creator of the universe would do that.
So do you think that was written by man?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't believe in God, so I have to kind of, unless I like believed in ghosts or something, but I believe, because I don't believe in God necessarily. I have to just think that it was written by man. Yeah.
Well, nah. There was slavery back then, and whether you like it or not, it happened. So
there was slavery back then, but there were groups of people in the world who outlawed slavery at the same time that the God of the Bible was telling people to take the virgin girls for yourself.
Outlaw? What do you mean by outlaw?
So I think in sections of Persia with, hey,
I was just asking if Brendan if he had his Bible. That's all. Sorry.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
Questions are good.
So the section.
I'm just trying to work out where I'm looking at.
So there were sections in Zoroastrianism that disallowed slavery. They said like slavery is not okay.
Yeah.
At the same time, around the same time, within a few hundred years, you had the God of Israel commanding the death and destruction of other nations and to take them as slaves. It even has instructions for Hebrew slaves, which are a little different from the slaves from the heathens around you. The Bible says explicitly, buy your slaves from the heathens around you. It says Hebrew slaves are to go after a few years, after 7 years. It says that if you give them a wife, they are not to leave with their wife, and if they want to stay with their wife and children, they've got to become your property for life that you can pass on to your children, and you have to drive an awl through their ear. That's in Exodus 21. There's a
Still here.
My friend Dr. Josh wrote this book. He's a Hebrew Bible expert and a Syriologist, and he studied he reads the Bible in its original Hebrew, and he wrote a book. It's on Audible. It's on Amazon. Did the Old Testament endorse slavery? Yes. Short answer, yes. Oh, Jenna, how you doing, Jenna? Everyone must be waking up over in America Town.
So where are your viewers normally from?
Where is what?
Where are your viewers normally from?
So yeah, let's ask. Where is everyone from? If you don't mind sharing the country you're from. Jenna, I know, is in Indiana. Yep, waking up for work. Is this your first day, Jenna? I know that you were starting soon. Jenna is a black female atheist online, and she's part of Tang, the Atheist Network group. She's the co-owner of Tang. So Doorknob Head is from Oregon in the United States. Oregon seems like a badass state. I'd love to live in Oregon. So Jenna and everyone who's jumping in now, this all happened because I posted a spicy tweet, and then I had a bunch of people argue with me, and then I was like, let's have a chat. And then these kind folks were bold enough to jump on. I said I'd be respectful. I've been respectful, right? Like you would, like I've been pretty nice. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Currently at home in the Netherlands. That's so cool. Oh, we went to Amsterdam. I really loved Amsterdam. Texas.
Brendan, do you know where?
Texas.
Brendan, do you have that photo of where I sent it to you? And it said that the first religion started in Egypt. Do you have that?
So I'm just gonna. We've got like 8 viewers now, which is like, this is blowing up. This has gone crazy. Thank you everyone who's tuning in. This isn't. I haven't been posting too much on here, but I do have conversations over at youtube.com/deepdrinks. They're live. I'll just shout it out one more time as you guys are finding what you're doing. I have atheist activists, Christians, Hare Krishnas, might have some Satanists on, Amish. We have like all types of people on here to talk about stuff. We recently had Thomas Westbrook on to talk about miracles. Why doesn't God heal amputees? We both grew up in churches that believe that God heals amputees. So if you like this kind of content, come over and join the party. We're just about to finish dry January, and we're about to move into a very alcoholic start. So I asked the guests to choose a drink over there, by the way, and then the drink sets the tone. So we've been drinking a lot of tea. Next week we have the last tea of January, and then we're moving over to whatever the guest wants. And Jenna, you're coming on soon, and Jenna and I will be drinking some delicious hard liquor, which will be a fun time. And and then we also. Sorry. I was just gonna say, and we also have we have Faye coming on, who grew up in a Hasidic Jewish cult. So we'll be learning her story, escaping that. What were you saying, guys?
I was just saying that how we used to idol gods, you know, like I'll show you a picture.
Yeah.
You see it?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, like why did we idol them? Why did we worship them back in the days?
Well, I mean, first of all, this isn't my area of expertise at all, but I would say that, like I mentioned before, that I think that that religions are a great way to organize society, to come up with rules, instructions, to the reason that the book's like in the way of your camera.
Oh, sorry.
But if the reason you're a Christian is probably because there are a lot of Christians around you. The reason you were Muslim is because you grew up with Muslims around you. The reason if you grew up in India, you're likely to be a Hindu or a Sikh. You know, if you grew up in Japan, you might be irreligious or Shinto or Buddhist. So like, I think there are traditions and stuff that people have that helps them tell story. They might have started as stories. Helps them organize society. Where did mum go when mum died? Oh, well, she went to a better place, or she was reborn. You know, these are stories that help comfort people, help organize society, and they're traditions that have just carried on. So, I mean, you call those gods idols, but there are many people even today who wouldn't call them idols. They'd call them gods still. There are people who still worship the pagan gods. I've been trying to get Ocean Keltoy on the channel for ages. He's actually a pagan who worships the pagan gods. He's a heathen, like unapologetically a heathen. And it was like he converted from Christianity to paganism because of a Christian pagan author from like the 12th century or something. Like this is why I want to have him on, because I don't know his full story. But yeah. Ocean Keltoy is, I just got to show you this, man.
It's good to get everyone's opinion too, bro.
Yeah, like look at this dude, right? He's like a proper pagan. Like he's like, and he talks, his channel is awesome, and he like talks about his beliefs, and it's just incredible. Really cool stuff.
Yeah.
So there are people out there that, you know, the gods that you call idols, they're for them, they're really important gods to them. They in fact, some people, you know, when the Native Americans, I think it was it might have been the Native Americans. It was a group of people who had gods as what you would call idols. Their gods could be held and touched and felt and smelt and prayed to and held and things like that. And then when the Christians came and said, no, these gods are fake gods, you have to believe in our God, they couldn't comprehend it, because to them it was like, your God isn't even here. We can't even see your God. Like, and for them, it was a very different mindset. It was like, why? I can't even see, I could hold my God, and you're telling me I've got to throw my God in a fire now?
Well, God said that there's going to be people that are going to say they're him.
Yeah, in Matthew 24.
Just remember, God has never, no one has seen God. People that are alive have never seen him. People that have seen God, they're false.
What about Jesus? What about Jesus? When he said in John, I and the Father am one. What do you mean by that? Or what about when Jacob wrestled with God all night and Jacob actually beat God? Or what about when who was it? Was it Isaiah? Didn't Isaiah see God?
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
So people have seen God. And what about Moses? Moses went up onto the mountain. Wait, the whole Bible is full of stories of people seeing God. What are you talking about? Adam and Eve saw God, someone just said.
Well, I'll take that back. But
I think I know what you mean.
Yeah, you know what I mean, right?
Like God is not obtainable for us to see now. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Let me ask you this, guys. All right. So have you heard of Pascal's wager?
No.
For those who are just tuning in, I'm talking to Christian friends I met tonight Twitter. So Pascal's wager is an argument that was created by someone Pascal, last name Pascal. I forgot, but it essentially is like, what have you got to lose? Like, if I die and I'm wrong, I go to hell. If you die and you're wrong, nothing. You just go to the same place I'm going, which is nothingness, right? Like, so it's like you should bet on the one that has a better outcome. That's like the Pascal's wager, it's called. But what if, where I think about it is like, what if this life is a test? What if the test is not to be fooled by any god? What if the test is to use the brain that we're given? Like, have you thought about like, what are the consequences of trusting something by faith? Because if faith can lead me to Yahweh and lead someone else to Allah or to Zeus, or if faith can fly planes into buildings, or if faith can blow up abortion clinics, or faith can, you know, like, how it doesn't that demonstrate that faith is an unreliable pathway to truth?
You got me brain fog right.
Yeah.
What do you got to say about that, Brendan?
I don't know, man.
Well, Brendan, stop talking over everyone, buddy. Okay, calm down. No,
bro, bloody
okay.
hell.
Well, how about we've given each other a lot to all think about. What if I ask you one more question before we kind of wrap up, and just ask you, like, think about it for a little bit. If I was to ask you, what is the best evidence or the best reason to believe in God, what would you say? And think about it, and we can talk about it. The best, if you could, like, think of all the reasons you believe in God, just tell me the best reason.
My mind is fried. Like, can't think.
It's been a long conversation. It's been 2 hours. You know, it's a long conversation to talk about these things.
Deep thoughts and everything, bro.
Deep thoughts, yeah.
I know.
Someone, by the way, someone said, the panel guest seems genuine and honest. I find it refreshing. So that was Look at the Trees, who's a great person.
I know, but I just can't find the answer right now.
That's okay. Do you have any? What's the reason you have for believing in God, Brendan?
Me?
Or either?
Me.
Yeah.
Well, why I believe in God is because it does not make sense for the Big Bang for things to be alive. It does not make sense for breathing, for anything that's breathing to moving around. It just does not make sense for a Big Bang to do that, you know? Even from dinosaurs and everything else in this earth.
Okay, I understand that. What about you, Brendan? Is it Brandon or Brendan?
Yeah, Brandon, yeah. I'm just trying to think for a second.
Yeah, okay.
Take your time, bro.
The best evidence as to why I believe.
This isn't like a you can change your answer if you think of something later. It's not like I'm gonna be like, no, you said that. No, you know, like. And these are big questions, so don't feel like it. You have to be perfect.
Tomorrow I'm gonna be having a headache like a hangover, bro.
That's what I do. I'm trying to remind you of what it was like when you were drinking, so you don't keep drinking, or don't keep. I'm keeping you sober.
Are you still there, Brendan?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah. Why did you turn to God?
I'm really not sure. There is really no evidence, but I know he once said that blessed is he who has not seen but yet still believes.
That's yeah. That's a very poetic scripture. I like that one.
Can I also say something? Like Muslim, not Islam to Christians, is that with Christians you have more like words that mean something. Like when you preach it, you feel more than something more than just because in the Quran there's not many there's not any scriptures. It's just like how to live life, basically. You know, like what to do. No words that mean anything. I don't know how to explain it, bro.
Well, maybe you can tell me the answer to this, because I've debated a bunch of Islamic Muslim TikTokers, and they say that if you read the Quran in Arabic, that it's impossible for an unlearned man to write that. It's so phonetically and poetically perfect that it's almost it was impossible for for someone who was uneducated like Muhammad, because he was uneducated, wasn't he? Maybe I'm getting it wrong. I'm not trying to insult him. Yeah, he didn't know how to write, so he wrote something that was so perfect, even though it must have been inspired from something. That's what they will say. What do you think about that? Is that true, or what do I tell these people when they tell me that?
It's true to an extent, bro. There's an extent to it. Like he knew what he was writing, but he just didn't know how to write it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but so what do you say to someone who says, well, that's how we know that the Quran is perfect, because it was written by an unlearned man, and it's phonetically and poetically and written in such perfect.
Maybe when they say perfect, like it hasn't been written by man, like it hasn't been rewritten by man. Maybe that's what they mean by perfect. Or
okay. So do you think the Quran is?
Don't quote me on it, bro. Don't quote me on it.
Yeah. You're I get it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. So it sounds like, Brandon, that for you it's more of a Sorry.
Keep going.
I was going to say, so for you, Brandon, it seems like it's more of a faith thing, that you believe because of faith, and well, that's like the reason that we're discussing. And for Mitch, you believe that like you can't comprehend a world where everything is living and breathing just by the Big Bang, right? Is that? I can give you my
the spirit, like spiritual, the feeling that you feel when you talk to Jesus. Jesus is a strong word, bro. Like right now, as soon as I said his name, I can feel goosebumps. And there's just a lot more to it than just the Big Bang, but that's one of the reasons. I've done my research, and yeah.
If someone had spoke the name of a different god and they felt goosebumps, would that be evidence of their god?
That's a good question, bro. That is a good question, because when I was a Muslim and I was paying, like when I was praying and stuff, I felt something too, but it wasn't that powerful as Jesus. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
I'll be honest, like I'm an atheist. I'm agnostic atheist, and I don't believe in God or gods. But when I was in Bali, drunk, poolside, with my wife sipping on a margarita, and I had my headphones in, I was listening to the Bhagavad Gita. Chapter 6 rolled around, and I was like, whoa. And I was like, this is powerful stuff. I was just like, this is amazing. When I read the Bible now, I still feel those feelings when I read 1 John, especially. God is light, and in him there is no darkness at all. When I read some of the Quran, some parts were horrible, but some parts were really beautiful. And when I say read, I mean listen. I mainly listen to audiobooks. But when I listened to the Quran, I was like, this is actually really beautiful. It feels like something there. I just don't attach a truth to those feelings, because I think that things can be beautiful and give us a feeling without necessarily being true. Like
Well,
I
then
feel.
Sorry, keep going.
What I feel things when I watch movies, but it doesn't mean the movies are true. Like I just, yeah. And just to kind of like, so if I was to ask you, Mitch, if I was to, like, I'm not saying this is the case, but let's say that someone could explain to you how something could come into existence without a God, right? Like that everything could be breathing and living and all those things without a God. Would that change your confidence in the God belief, or would you still believe in God?
I'll do my research on that first before I do anything else, before I put my opinion on it.
But let's say that someone convinced you, like you're like, oh, this makes sense. Like this, like living matter could have come from non-living matter, and it created emotional, in those things evolved to have emotional experiences. If someone could explain it to you, and I'm not saying this is the case, and it's not the case, like we don't know where the first thing. Yeah, hypothetically, would that change your confidence in the God claim?
No, it wouldn't.
So, okay, so if that's your best evidence, and it wouldn't even change your mind, why?
Because it wouldn't make sense to me if they said that.
Okay, but okay, yeah. So it's like are you finding it like hard to even grasp the hypothetical? Like it's like if I tried to think of like infinity plus one, it's like it doesn't make sense. Like
yeah, it does not make sense to me. Like,
okay,
I'm speaking honestly, bro. It does not make sense.
And that's I appreciate you coming on. That's
and
talking honestly.
Yeah. For us, this is the puzzle. This whole about God and it's a puzzle one. So we have to go back to how life was made, how the earth was made, and then we can follow up from there to God. Does that make sense? That's what I'm doing at the moment, right? So that's why I'm reading this book. I have heaps more books left to read. I haven't even got through all of it yet. I spent over $200 on these books, bro, and they have knowledge.
You're telling me I've still got a book up there called The Blackwell's Companion to Consciousness, and I've been too scared to open it for like a year and a half because it's so thick. It's like it's too big of a question. I don't even want to look at it. Like I bought it because I was like, I'm going to look into this, and then when I got, I was like, oh, it's too big. I know what you mean. Yeah.
Sorry. Get into it, bro.
I got so many books I'm reading at the moment. There's another bookshelf here, the same size. That's the same size as half one of them. It's like half full. Yeah. I just keep buying books.
Like, I just want to keep reading books and keep learning about life, bro, and just understand what really life is about and what it actually means. That's the honest truth. Yeah.
So, and Mitch, you said that you know, for you it was like it was more to do with faith. What do you think about when I said faith can lead me to Yahweh and someone else to Zeus and someone else to Allah? It kind of demonstrates that faith is unreliable. What do you think about that?
Are you talking to me or Brendan?
Brendan, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, what was you saying?
So when it comes to faith, because you mentioned that faith is like seeing something without believing something without seeing it is important to you. What would you say to someone who says, well, there are a lot of people who believe a lot of things, different religions from faith, that shows that faith is unreliable? What would you say to that person?
I wouldn't know how to answer that.
Can I say something?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
You can't answer that, bro.
Yep.
You can't answer that. Like, honestly, bro, like, for us two, me and Brendan, we can't answer that. I don't know if anyone will answer that, honestly. You know what I mean?
I can.
Well, what's your answer?
No, faith is not a reliable pathway to truth, so we shouldn't trust it. We should follow evidence, reason, and argument.
Isn't faith a feeling as well?
Yeah, and I don't think it's trustworthy.
So
Like,
you don't
do you
have faith
think
in your relationship with your missus?
who?
With your missus?
This is the perfect example. I'm so glad you brought this up. I don't believe my wife is cheating on me, right? I have faith in a relationship, but there's a possibility that she's cheating on me, of course. And if I found out that she was cheating on me, I'd have to change my mind. And there are so many people who go, oh, my wife or my partner would never cheat on me. And it turns out they are cheating on them. So yeah, it's a perfect example. It's almost one-on-one analogous. It's like you can have these beliefs and these ideas and these feelings, but it doesn't mean it's reality. Like, I really believe that they love me and they would never cheat on me. But then how many people get cheated on every day?
Truth, man. Truth. See, you just got me.
No, I know it's guys. These are big questions, and I don't, I thank you guys for coming on here to talk about these stuff, because
I'm always down to talk, bro. I'm always down.
There's so many people who will throw shade at me on Twitter and then run away.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, people were saying this and that, and you were asking them, "Well, come DM me and blah blah blah," and obviously they didn't want to step up to the plate, and someone had to do it.
And I can kind of empathize with them, because like it looks like a trap, because it looks like I'm just gonna, like, because I've said something probably.
Yeah,
but,
that's what it looked like to me, bro. And I was like, nah, I'm gonna do it anyway.
Good on you. Well, if anyone comes on, if you came on and you were being like bad faith or whatever, it would have gotten fiery, and we would have been arguing. But because you're polite, and I try to be polite, I try to meet you where you guys are at. But well, I think it might be a good idea to wrap up, unless you guys have any more, anything else to say. But it was fun talking to you guys, and I do appreciate you coming on and showing me maybe where I need to think more about my ideas, and I hope that I've helped you think about your positions. I don't want you to become atheist or change your mind or anything. Obviously, I just think these conversations need to be had. I think they're important, and I think that bridging gaps between people's people who have different beliefs is a good thing to do.
It is, man. It was good chatting to you and getting your opinion on stuff as well.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, bro.
No worries.
Really good.
No worries. Well, everyone, I am much more like I do live streams weekly over here on Deep Drinks. So just another time, shout out, go subscribe to Deep Drinks. We are trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. And we're going to do a charity stream when we get to 1,000 subscribers. And for those who missed it before, I do want to share something. We interviewed some pretty badass guests. We interviewed Anastasia Paraskevova, who's living in Ukraine. And as we're talking, and she's helping volunteer for the people who need it, and help bring bandages and stuff. And as we're talking, so her father was killed from a missile from the Russian airstrike. So it was pretty brutal. We talked about it. But as we're talking, missiles were coming down, and there was an air raid. So she had to run to the hallway. So it was pretty interesting conversation, and I've had conversations with Christians as well. If you guys might really like the conversation I had with where is he? Michael Jones. He's a popular Christian apologist. We drank scotch together and talked about morals, so that was good. So yeah, thanks everyone for coming out. And if you guys like content like this as well, and you want to jump on the stream with me, let me know on Twitter. My @ is @DaveMcDonald89. I'd love to have conversations with more people going forward. Thank you everyone for coming out. It's been great. I'll see you guys later.
See you, mate.
See ya.